do that. Hello, everyone. All right, how are we all doing today? Are we doing good? Is it? It's a fantastic day this Friday. It's sunny over here in beautiful Portland, Oregon. Sure that there's a lot of weather going around lately. I know in the Northeast and the Midwest, but okay, that's awesome to hear. I'm glad we're all doing well. So, for those of you who don't know me, some of you might, most of you I don't really recognize off the top of my head. My name is Esmée. I use they, she pronouns. I am a uh, I've been with the Green Party since like January of this year, so I've been here for about 6 months now. Everybody's been so welcoming, so open, so kind, and I really appreciate y'all for coming to this presentation, especially. I'm a member of the Pacific Green Party of Oregon. I work with their SCC, and I also do work with the Youth Caucus of the Green Party. I'm their MediaCom chair, so I do a lot of the social media stuff. And I also just do a bunch of random stuff for the party as well, pretty much wherever I need to be and help. I'm also a candidate for secretary, for the party secretary. I will tell you about that later. But for now, I'm going to pull up this really wonderful presentation I made. So we're really talking today about how to engage youth voices in the party and engaging young people especially, because young people, I believe, account for only, I think only 20% of young people vote or something along those lines. So that means that there are 80% of young people that they're 18 to 25-year-olds, so high school, college age, eligible voters who are so eager and so, strongly opinionated about the way things are right now. You see it every day on social media. You see it with these protests that are happening across the country. But there's always this, hesitancy for them to get involved with certain political groups for one reason or another. So what I'm here to do today is to show you all how to do that for a really informative presentation that I put together. I am going to present this, share my screen. All right, can everybody see the presentation right here? Perfect. Great. So this presentation is about engaging young people, really. So by the end of this presentation, you're going to be able to understand how you've taken information. This is a really important one because I feel like a lot of people as a whole, um, they understand how to communicate with you. Some of them do a really good job at that, but it's always a generational gap. That's not to say that anybody is more right or wrong for taking in information one way or the other. I have a history teacher who used to take in their information from newspaper every day. They would stay away from phones for like 90% of the day, and they were our journalism teacher, so that was something. But taking in information really important. Knowing what the Green Party can improve on, that's always something. I feel like I'm a person who believes that we can improve on anything, that everything, we need to be putting quality and consistent improvement in our work, in our platforms, in our personal lives, so that way we can best express ourselves to other people and we can best be ready to support other people. I was a crisis counselor for about 6 months, and the number one thing I learned from there is that you need quality and consistency in all your approaches, and that's where I'm going to be explaining today what the Green Party and what state parties and everybody else could be doing better. I think that we're already doing great work, but we can improve on it to make it even better. I'm also going to show you all how to build connections with young people. This is a very important part of community organizing, is how do we engage young people to not only join us, but sustainably be a part of the movement that we're building. Young people as a whole, you may notice that some of them tend to come into these spaces and then, there's very little supervision. People get burnt out and then they leave. That's not the fault of anybody, but that is a representation of the system that we have right now, we have in this world right now, where we prioritize work over, just rest and care. And I think that even in the Green Party, there are still a few elements of that, especially with younger people, that I want to address, and I want to make sure that we're all aware of so that we can best support young people in our own parties. I'm also going to teach you all the phrase "skibbity toilet." I'm not going to do that. I have no idea what that is. I'm not on TikTok, which is really funny to say from somebody who is 23 years old. So let's get started here. I want you all to do a little exercise for me. I want you to pull out your phones right now And I want you to just go on to your social media. I want you to look up, go on your social media accounts, and then type in the chat what you see. Like, what's the first thing that pops up? If it's inappropriate, don't share it, please. I don't need to know about any of the weird shit you all are into. I just want to know if there's any safe for work content on there. What is the first thing that you're seeing on your social media accounts? You can type it in the chat. I got a lot of good answers coming in. Good answers. You know what? I'm really happy to see that most of you are not doing social media on your phones. We got advertisements. We got Latvian camp activities. That is awesome. What's on your mind? Someone yapping about Friedman political as a cannabis. Okay, okay. So we're seeing a large communication platform where people can share information about certain causes and certain movements. That's great. Now, young people obviously get a lot of their news off of social media. They get it on their phones. Those are pictures of my cats right there if you're interested. Phones and social media as a whole can be really great tools because they can let you connect with people. They can, tell you all of this incredible information. I mean, I'm sure some of you grew up in at ages where you'd have to go and look in dictionaries, encyclopedias, spend hours in the library just to learn a couple of words, whereas now you could just search it in a second in the palm of your hand. It's really scary, honestly, how fast technology has progressed over the past 50 years. But young people use their phones for a lot of things. And what do phones cause? Depression. No, not really. Well, increases of screen time, there are a lot of studies that have been coming out recently that have been saying that young people who are on these applications like Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, it can really cause low self-esteem because you see these, incredible models, you see people who have these like quote unquote, awesome lives without really understanding what's going on with the nuances in the background. Um, so you see all of that, and it can be, really depressing for a lot of people. And, when you see, especially the content that comes out today with, you see doom scrolling. And how many of you here have heard of the term doom scrolling before? Now, doom scrolling is this incredible phenomenon for those of you who don't know, when people just essentially go on Instagram, they'll maybe lay in their bed for a couple hours, they'll just scroll through it and they'll see, stories about how the climate is being destroyed, about how rights are being eroded and taken away. I mean, I'm looking on my social media right now and I can see just stories after story of people who have, of stock markets dropping and Trump doing these awful things and people who were very respectable being outed as, terrible people. And that could be really depressing in a lot of ways. Now, the best way to remedy that, I mean, we're a party that prides ourselves in a lot of way on positivity and solutions and solution-oriented politics and community organizing, especially. I think all of us have been to a protest before. We've been organizers, we've been activists. So let's take a look at just social media for a second, stuff like Instagram and Twitter. Now, this is a mock-up of what I would do if I were the social media, if I supported social media here. You can see that a lot of this stuff that I am advertising right here, this is all stuff that I just made off of graphic design stuff. It's positive, it's, warm, it's welcoming. It makes people enthused and excited. Now, why am I showing you this? It's because when we look at, other political parties right now, when we look at other social media accounts, we just see a lot of negativity, and we know why negativity sells. It gets people to look at the content. It gets clicks. It gets views. It gets people angry. And, right now in this country, it seems that a lot of people think that anger is the best way to move forward and, get people to donate to things and get people to like out in the streets and protest. But I think the Green Party, in a lot of ways, has always stood against that idea. We stood against the idea that anger is the final solution and that we can come up with things better than what we have right now. We're sort of the opposition to just that two-party, system that we have. So, like what I have right here is just a mock-up of, what we could be doing for Instagram, which is, putting positive content out there, stuff that includes youth, especially like the trans equity post right here. We also have, just very positive politics on the one to the left with the, kind of Twitter recap posts. All of these are designed especially to target young people, to target young people who are, feeling depressed about the current situation. They, maybe don't feel like that there's any hope. I think that, especially for engaging young people, you have to provide hope into the situation. You can't just rely on anger. You have to rely on hope. You have to rely on positivity. You have to rely on optimism because, older people, especially the reason why, the conservatives get a lot of votes with older people is because they just are, they complain, they get people angry, and younger people have to bear the brunt of this because they're going to be living in this world for the next 80 years. And with the life expectancy going up, oh, who knows how long we're going to live for. But what I'll say is that just having positive, content is good. Another area that's really good for that are TikToks. Now, I'm not on TikTok personally. I think I'm a little bit of like I think I skipped a generation or something like that. I'm not sure. I still listen to the Grateful Dead and like Pink Floyd and all the bands from like the 70s, so I'm a little bit old school with that stuff, but we also have TikToks right here, which are just fantastic little videos, like 30 seconds that people can get involved in. And those are great ways to engage young people. I run a nonprofit, and one of the positions that we have is a TikTok position. And we just essentially pay young people to make TikToks and like just talk about whatever they want. They could talk about books, they could talk about their experiences in school, they could talk about writing, they could talk about dating and relationships, they could give little educational pieces of advice. And I think overall it's just a fantastic way for, young people to get plugged in and engaged. And most importantly, if we as the Green Party, if we as state parties, if we as caucuses and committees and working groups were to implement, TikToks, we also have to put young people on there too. Because one of the most important things with engaging young people is visibility. We want young people to see themselves on screen. There's a famous quote that I have looked at that a good friend of mine reminded me of that, you have to be able to believe it, you have to be able to see it. And to know it's possible, you have to be able to see it. Now, obviously, organically stuff could happen, but it takes a lot longer. It's a lot better if you put people on the screens and in these platforms. What I call it is uplifting young people. We're uplifting young people through social media like, Instagram, but also through TikTok. And we're letting them, take a lot of the reins and say, well, young people know young people best, so we should do that. Blue Sky is another really good way. Blue Sky is sort of the left answer to TikTok. It's unfortunately populated by some liberals right now, but it's a great platform for young people, especially, and the engagement there is pretty high from what I've seen so far. Um, I think that personally, from what I've seen as the GPUS MediaCom person, oh, sorry, excuse me, as the Youth Caucus MediaCom chair, is people are pretty much engaging wherever we go. But in terms of the platforms with the most room for growth, Blue Sky is one of them, TikTok is one of them, and even Instagram to a certain extent is one of them. Those are the three major platforms I've seen. Facebook I'm on, but I don't really use it a lot. No offense to anybody who uses Facebook here regularly. Let's also talk about media outreach for a second because that's a really important tool that the Green Party has. And just to answer the questions, yeah, Blue Sky, I think the Green Party actually does have a Blue Sky account, which is a pretty interesting thing. I follow it. I'm not sure how often they post or not, but let's talk about media outreach for a second. So this is actually an article that I appeared in a very long time ago, back in 2023. It was a March for Queer and Trans Youth Autonomy. And what this article did really well was they uplifted youth advocacy work. They uplifted young people. My mentors were very kind to give me some media contacts, and I was able to, I was 21 years old at this time, organizing a nationwide march with tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people. And what I can say that I learned from that is that it's really important to allow young people the opportunity to speak to the media and for young people the opportunity to, put their creations and their ideas and their innovation out there. Not just in like the general media, like, NBC or ABC or whatever people read today. There's a bunch of Substacks going on, but stuff like social media too. It all goes back to that, you have to see it to believe it sort of element. You have to be able to, see other people doing this work to know it's possible and then be motivated by it. Happy stories, that's the real thing, is we want happy stories where action can be done to make things better. A lot of the doom scrolling stems from people saying that this content is horrible, this thing is absolutely terrible. I feel like I'm powerless, I can't do anything like that. We don't want people feeling like that. We want people to feel like that they can do something, and I feel like this party is perfectly positioned to be able to have that, sort of, well, you can make change, and it all starts by joining us, and state parties especially. So it all starts with, doing the work and putting that in, doing the hard work. But at the same time, having the social media and the media outreach, it really goes a long way to getting new members and doing that. Web design. Oh my, those are loading little boxes right there. What I actually had was pictures of our websites, but unfortunately, this is fucked up right here. Excuse my language. But to the right, we have a picture of the Libertarian Party. Let me see if I could actually quickly. Nope. Okay, that's fine. Um, so what I had was pictures of the Libertarian Party's website, the Democratic Party website, and the Green Party website. Actually, if y'all want, you can go and take a look at all the websites yourself. I put the links right there if you want to type them in. But good websites, good web design, that's a really important part of our work. And especially if you couldn't tell from the Libertarian Party website, is showing people, especially some younger people right there who are doing this work. That's a really good way to engage you voices. It's just by having a solid website. Every single young person I've talked to so far has said that our websites from the state parties, that they could be improved upon. That's not a diss against any of the work that we've been doing. I know that a lot of us are very much overworked in our lives, and we put a lot of time and energy into this party. But I am saying that just from all the young people I've spoken to, we can do a better job with our websites, and it starts with just having a simple, good platform to follow. This is a sample web refresh I sort of did, where we have just a very simple, streamlined interface where we have very easily accessible categories with information. We have a way to get involved up in the corner. The background would be changed to young people, to people especially like doing organizing work, highlighting not only the organizing work, but also just giving a simple, elegant solution and ways for people to join is very important. And I do want to point that out. Yeah, I do want to point out one of the things in the chat. That march I was talking about earlier, yes, I did co-organize it. I had a lot of wonderful people aside from me. Um, and it was a very fantastic experience. So let's summarize what we learned here. Positive social media content, that's number one. That's a really important part of this work. It's promoting positive social media content that young people can find and see and say, I really want to get involved with this group because they're presenting a better solution for the future. Including youth and social media, number two. That's a really important one. Not just, hey, get in front of the camera, we're gonna film some stuff, and then you're done. Letting youth, have chances to run the social media. That goes into the mentorship kind of role of the Green Party. I feel like what we can do especially well, we have a lot of older folks who have tons of experience that they could pass on to a younger generation if we just get more people. And we could use these, ways to do that, but we could also include youth in the work that we're doing by, having mentorship programs and allowing young people to say run our social media for one day a week, or allowing videos to be produced one day a week by young people. Enthusiastic web design, that's a really good one. It's just having something where people can click on it and say, okay, this is actually really good. I've always said that a staple website, especially with youth organizing, is everything because young people, we spend a lot of time on our phones. We spend a lot of time on the internet, on social media especially, and just having a consistent website that people can go on their phones for is really important. Giving youth the media tools, like I just said, with social media, it applies for just regular media as well, like the press and other stuff like that. Um, allowing people to, have these conversations with these reporters, but also prepping them and being very prepared because obviously we all know the media, they take things out of context, they say a lot of things that they, don't think are actually true, but are just saying it for clicks. It's giving people the tools and the resources to be able to go out in the real world and do these things. And most importantly, just consistency and quality. That's what young people look for, especially, is they want something that they can jump into because they know that it works. They know that they're tried and tested methods. So I am going to open up the floor for some questions if anybody has them. I can talk a lot about state parties and different ways that y'all can do the work there. I'm also more than happy to just answer any questions that y'all might have for just young people in general. All right, let's view you. Um, uh, yeah, you're all good.
Hey,
Yeah,
great job. Good job. You did
thank you.
great. I wanted to talk a little bit about uniformity, finding some sort of uniformity throughout the state accounts at the very minimum. I have been gathering a few of the people who are behind some of these accounts and trying to see what they think, how they want to move forward, especially the young people, because I want to hear what they have to say because they're our future. Um, And so, in doing so, some of the things that I realized young people really want to be out on the ground, like stomping their feet. I get it. And I respect that. And sometimes they don't prioritize the social media content. And what I was thinking is, what can we do to have, let's have one person logged in from the state and one person logged in from the GPUS so that at least we're accepting collaborations, at least like whatever state it is, and they have like candidates that want to cross promote their content, that we are making sure that at least if that state person isn't available, that at least somebody else is there to at least accept collaboration requests, like, and just to promote content. So that's kind of like it. What I want to talk about is like uniformity and promoting content, candidate content, versus environmental issues and Black Lives Matter issues and Palestine issues. So yeah, that's kind of what I want to say. I don't know. Did I ask you a question? I didn't ask you a question. I'm sorry.
Hi. No, you're good. These are very good observations, very good question right there. I'm going to break it up in a couple of ways. So, number one, the most important element there, I think, is the sort of, how do we get young people organized? And, we have a lot of experience as organizers, maybe, but maybe some of the, high school students or people who are college students don't really. So the first thing I would say there in terms of the uniformity is making sure that you have a solid system people can plug into. That means, having a platform like a Canva account or, some sort of graphic design platform that people can easily share their work, having templates that people can just put the information on, but also allowing for creativity. I think personally, the most daunting aspect of social media creation for young people is that there's just, so much going on. And a lot of people, I felt like this at times, we feel like that we're just in a sea, like we're just a tiny little drop of sand in the sea and it doesn't even matter what happens because we're never going to get recognized. Now, in terms of, how do we fix that? It's having good systems in place. That means, what I believe that we should be doing is having is ensuring that state parties are all set up with the support they need for, graphic design platforms. Some of them might use Canva, some of them might use Adobe Express. I think that in terms of uniformity, state parties, actually state parties as a whole don't necessarily need to be uniform, but they do need to have some consistency. And the uniformity element, not every state party needs to have an identical logo or any identical features. They can just, they can do their own thing in a way as long as it looks good. I've always, prided myself and other people around me were of being more of a, if it works, it works. I grew up in a New England home. My dad would have a car that was like 250,000 miles on it, and he would essentially not want to get it sold because if it works, it works. And unfortunately, one day it didn't work and he had to get it taken away, but that was a lot of fun. But as for back to this conversation, I think consistency is a really good point, and making sure that everybody is consistent in that part. Yes.
So I guess when I have talked to the younger generations and I'm reaching out one-on-one through, I'm behind Jill Stein's account and I'm behind the Green Rainbow Party account.
Ah,
Hi.
hi.
So I've been reaching out one-on-one to the accounts, the state accounts, and like whoever is going to bite, I'm sending them messages if they want to come together. And I give everybody here this chance to please think about joining our meeting, because we are coming up with templates. We are coming up with things that we can do. I guess uniformity is not the right word. What you were saying is consistency and having the same kind of outlook. I mean, if we look at PSL, if we look at UK Green Party, if we look at other parties that are doing the same thing as we're doing, and we see what is working for them and how effectively it's working for them, I think we can learn from all of these different people with different platforms. So yeah, there's a discussion happening, and things are moving forward. And I feel like anybody who wants to join, I welcome you. I'm going to leave my contact information here in the chat. I have so far a New York Green Party person. I have a Dearborn, Michigan person. I have Oregon person. I have myself, Massachusetts, and Butch Ware's account, and working on the California account. So bunch of accounts that I'm trying to get together and start taking votes on things. I think we're not spending enough time making decisions. We're spending more time talking about what's working, what's not working. And I think everyone has these Canva files, everyone has these Adobe Illustrator files, right? So it's a matter of sharing the content with each other and having a meeting and voting on, okay, this is what working for us, this is not what's working for us, and let's take a vote on it. So that's what I'm trying to do, is gather a coalition of people who are interested in helping with social media content, and I will leave my information in the comments.
Thank you. That's all good information. So I'm just going to show you all. These are the graphics I've been doing for Instagram just because I feel like that they're fresh. And most importantly, I have this little progress thing under here that just symbolizes that we're a party that's moving forward and progressing and just doing better things. But I put all of these elements in here. We could have, one page right here be for, just, better education. And then we could sort of explain what our platform is on this next page right here. But having all of this and having, people and having, the different platforms that we have on here, that's just going to be really big to get people excited and enthused about, what we're doing as a party. And it gets people to join that way because they're like, hey, I could help out with lower rent. I could help out with healthcare. I could help out with tabling. And I think that having a coalition is a really big thing. And that's something that, our media team for GPUS should be really good. Blurry images. No, the blurry images are not you. Trust me, the blurry images are just design things that I made. Don't worry about it. But yeah, I think that what's a really good point is just making sure that we're all on the same page about things and that we're essentially working smarter, not harder. Because a lot of the posts that we make, whether it be for state parties or for caucuses, we could share those with other parties very easily. They're all very similar. So we all have to get together in one room and really say, okay, who's working on what and how can we uplift it and how can we share it? Now, GPUS might have its own, branding and style and stuff like that, just like Jill Stein's campaign might have that too. That is a very fair point, and I think that we have to allow state parties to sort of keep that autonomy, but we also want to make sure that we're not doing twice or three times the amount of work that we need to be doing by seeing who's working on what, chipping in where we can. And that means, maybe having the state party media people join in on the media meetings or joining in on, a call once a month just to discuss what people are working on so that way we can best prepare this stuff. Because at the end of the day, if there's something I've learned about social media, you have to take time to meet with people to do it. You have to take time to meet with people because that's how young people, get through to. That's how we get through to young people. It's through that quality and consistency element. So great points right there. And I think overall, state parties are going to have different styles, different logos. That's totally fine, but they have to work. And if people are saying, well, they don't work, then they don't work. If people are saying that they're not enthused or if they're not excited, then they're not enthused or excited. We have to adapt to that. And that means we ask for help. We offer people who are being supported. Excuse me, we ask for help. We offer support to people if we have the time, energy, and capacity to. And overall, we accept that we take accountability for the fact that maybe some things aren't working. We can do them better. And we assess our own capacities and say, do we have the time? Do I have the time to be running all the social media accounts? Can I delegate this somehow? It's just asking yourselves that questions, but also admitting, where things can be better. I think that the GPUS, we could be doing better on our website and on our social media, and I'm more than willing to help out with that, just like I'm sure a lot of people here are too. And I want to help us get into a better place, and we can't do that by arguing about website platforms. We just have to pick something and trust people in a sense. Obviously, we vet people to make sure that they have good ideas, and we, have dinner with them. We talk to them about what their plan is, and then we, if we feel comfortable with it, we implement it. We make sure that people can have the agency to do this work without having to go through counsel on everything, but also knowing that there are people around you who you can ask for help and tap in if need be. And since this is a democratic process, if you don't like something, you can vote them out. You can vote a new person in.
Yeah.
So there's that. Josh, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention what I was doing up here in Kotzebue, Alaska for our party. I I thought I was like doing outreaches by putting flyers up. And people, my friends would say, "Oh, they know that if it's a Green Party flyer, I must have put it up on a community board or something." But I've been reading this book. I've just started Propaganda by Jacques Ellul, and the author talks about how you're not really like doing outreach if you just do this one form of media. It also includes like going door to door, getting on doing something like getting on the radio or newspaper, and that's like I've been on the radio plenty of times here, but I mean it's public radio, so I don't know if they want me talking about the Green Party per se. Um, though I'm I was elected to the city council here, and I'm serving on that, so I do get interviewed election times. We have two Green Party members on our city council. It's just difficult even with that to organize anything, and it's a problem here with the Republicans as well. I mean, rural Alaska is just dominated by the Democrats. Oftentimes the Republicans don't even bother running. So here, I feel like this party can be a strong opposition party where the Republicans don't even care to organize. I just wanted to mention that, and I appreciate the uh point on doing optimistic you know uh, outreach content. We don't just want to talk about what we're angry about. We want to give people a vision.
Exactly. Vision is so important, and I appreciate you for all the work you put in with the radio and the newspapers and everything up in Alaska, especially. It's a very interesting climate environment up there. It's very unique in a lot of senses. And yeah, absolutely. I think that in terms of having those, positivity and just having solutions, that's what drives young people ultimately. Right now, a lot of young people feel really disenfranchised because they have one side saying the Democrats are the reason why we're in this shit, and one side saying the Republicans are the reason why we're in this shit. We're both in this shit. They're both the reason why we're in this shit, and we need to get better, and we need to do better, and we need to be better. And I think that as people, we just have to recognize, where we can do better, and where we individually can do better, and where we as a party can do better. And it's a lot of it is some self-reflection, which is hard. It's difficult work, but it needs to be done because Lord knows the Democrats and Republicans aren't going to be doing that. So we have to. We have to be the ones who are always one step ahead of this group of people, and that's what gets young people involved, like me, because I want to help us be one step ahead of everything and making sure that we can, respond when we respond. Let's see, college, or let me just respond to the questions in the chat quickly. Do we have a college or college-oriented organization? Yeah, Young Eco-Socialist is technically that. Sort of, we've been doing a lot more social media work. I just graduated, so I can't really be involved in, organizing at my local college, but I think that we're working on a plan to make that happen because we want to get college people involved, especially. And the way that we do that is not only by having, in-person organizing, but also, the real reason why a lot of people join is because of the candidates and because of the party. And I'm so glad that we have, people from Jill Stein's campaign here who are, observing this meeting so that we can understand how to, promote and get more young people in there. A lot of it is just, seeing young people in the campaign and seeing young people on the platforms. Once we do that, once we get those people, once we put in the positivity, people will start flying in. It's just simple as that. And that means having some, quality, consistent content. And that means having, leaders who are willing to uplift and prioritize young people, especially in this content. Dace, I will go with you for your question.
Yeah, hi. So I retired from Madison, Wisconsin, and left everything behind there and moved to Southwest rural Michigan, which is extremely Republican, but it isn't really. It is amazing to see the numbers of people who don't vote. And, I would hear in the grocery line and at the gas station or in the restaurant, I would hear people say, well, I'm just not going to vote. And so the only thing I can do is say, well, don't not vote, just vote green. And people are like, what? They don't even know. They don't even know. Which is weird because there's been a Green Party presence in the state of Michigan for a really long time. And I literally see on my Facebook two people who I recognize their names in my little neighborhood Facebook group who I know are green. And so there aren't people doing a whole lot of organizing. I am not an organizer. People don't follow me. I'm a really good meeting holder and note taker and put stuff up on Facebook person, but yeah, people don't follow me, which was frustrating because I was the co-chair of both the Green Party in Wisconsin and the Green Party in Madison. That all being done, I kept the house open. People came, there's work being done, a lot of work being done in Wisconsin, so don't get me wrong there. But they weren't following me, they were following other people. I say all of that right now to say that when I look at my ballot, it's completely Republican. There are no Dems running, there are no Greens running, there are no independents running. And, it's really hard to get people excited about ranked choice voting because they don't get it. But it seems to me like it would benefit a whole lot if we could just open up that ballot a little bit bigger. And yet I'm not going, I'm the only person who raised my hand when the Green Party of Michigan said, we're going to start trying to organize your county again. And I'm like, okay, I don't know anybody. I haven't been here very long. I don't know kids. I don't know. I'm like, okay. But yeah, I can hide behind some graphic and create some social media, but it's not real. Short of crashing some roller skating party, I don't know how to even begin to reach out to individuals in my neighborhood.
All right. So thank you for that. First off, thank you. Congratulations on retiring, and thank you so much for all the work you put into this party. I really appreciate it. I also see the Jerry Garcia sticker back there and just want to wish him a happy birthday today. It's a fantastic couple of days. Hope all the deadheads, including myself, will get a chance to celebrate all of his wonderful accomplishments. But back to your main point here is how do we engage people to fill in these positions? Because I think that the main issue that we have in the Green Party is there's an older generation of people who are sort of in the caretakers party, and we're trying to figure out how to recruit young people and get young people involved. Best way we can do that is social media and website and just having some quality and consistency there. That's, in my opinion, the most important thing. But the second most important thing is tabling. Now, I'm not saying to go and table every week yourself, but all you have to do is just go table once or twice in, a farmer's market or a, like a pride event or a parade. You'll get maybe 5 or 10 young people who are interested. I'm sure one of them would be willing to table as well. And, just say, hey, let's just go ahead and let's go ahead and just let people, let's start mentoring some young people through that. So all you really have to do, I know some of us do not like tabling, but if we just go and table once a week, if we just schedule tabling once a week and have, you can take a table once a month, I'm sure. You could table for an hour or two and just sit there and just, tell people about the party. I am working on right now for GPUS. This is not anything official. This is just a project I've been working on in my free time, a tabling kit with pins and stickers and all that other fun stuff and resources and flyers and lawn signs. And you could sell those, you can give them out, you can do whatever you want with them as a state party and as a national party. Tabling once a week, it helps you build relationships with people, and it also helps people recognize you and see you and go, oh, these people tabled at Pride. They're really cool. I'm a trans person. I should join the Green Party now. Same with, if there are any farmers markets events, you get all the hippies there. Or same with I don't know any other. I kind of live I live under a rock. I'm joking. I don't live under a rock, but there are a lot of tabling opportunities that exist out there.
Yeah, there are here.
And if you just do that once or twice, I'm sure you'll get a couple of people who are interested in tabling as well. And that also involves having consistent meetings and having, consistent scheduling and having a quality platform. I'm also working on a campaign guide and some other stuff. Basically, what we need, if we could just
have all that
yeah,
myself.
exactly. If we could
All
just,
of
if
it.
you, so all you have to do is just go out there and, just get a couple of people and then mentor them and help them take over these positions. So that way you don't have to do all the work yourself. Same with everybody
I've
else.
even got an ironing table that fits on the back of my bicycle that I can put up on a corner and hand out lit if I had lit to hand out.
Fantastic. Well, I will gladly help you find some lit to hand out. I have some and be more than happy to help out with that. All right. Let me just check the chat very quickly to catch up on this. Oh my God, you all are chatty. I love this. Table on campus. Yes, tabling on campus. Exactly. That's a very good point right there. DSA and PSL and all these other fun groups table on campus. So I can't wait. Well, the issue with that is, we have some young people, but not a lot. And I think that getting more requires, some internal reflection too, because just having our social media and having our website and having all that up to date and looking like that we have some good positive stuff on there, that's going to be the major thing that gets young people on here because of the social media aspect I talked about. Young people spend a lot of time on social media. If we have to put our money where our mouth is and say, if we support young people, we need to look like that we're an account that supports young people. Travis, I'm going to give you the floor for your handout.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for having us. Great presentation. So yeah, my name is Travis Owens. I am running for the presidential nomination in 2028. Not a politician or anything, but I do have a grasp on the connection with real world, what's going on in the real world. So not trying to do a pitch real quick, just want to introduce myself. My question is, and you kind of sort of answered it just a minute ago, but to continue on that, how can you expand on getting that youth reach out? Like, I'm an event producer, so I know I'm a little bit more knowledgeable in this space. So what type, if there are other people who have that type of experience, what type of events could we as parties or as candidates and stuff host to try to get that youth reach out?
First off, congrats on running for president, Travis. I saw your messages and I appreciate your platform. Now let's look at prime edibles. Why am I seeing that in the chat right now? Oh my God. Okay. We're talking about edibles and it's not even 10 o'clock for me. Great. Well, anyway, so in terms of getting people interested, I sound like a broken record when I say that we need consistent website and social media, and just, it looks updated and professional and sleek and young, and we're 2 steps ahead of everybody else. But another really important part is having events. Now, state parties don't need to be doing events every week. They could just be tabling once a week, and maybe we could have like, the summer conventions or like the winter conventions, or one big event every 6 months or one big event every year is more than enough. But the thing that gets young people excited the most is in-person connection. Now, I'm somebody who grew up in I went to high school during my junior year during the COVID pandemic. I remember very carefully, it was my birthday. I lost a friend to suicide the day before. And I was in that position where I was just in my guidance counselor's office on my birthday crying. And that was March 12th, 2020. That was the last day I went to school, like in person. That was the last day that was really normal for me. I just turned 18 that day. And the next day I stayed home. I thought it was just going to be for a week or two. It turned out that everything was canceled and we had to do like online classes. I missed hanging out with my friends so much, and I'm sure so many other people did. I missed being able to grieve. I missed being able to laugh. I missed being able to just not have to worry about things. And all of a sudden, that puts so much responsibility on me, and it puts so much, just burden and pressure to not only put myself together for my family, for my friends, for people who were scared, but also organizing. I was a community organizer during that time. I ran my school's GSA. I ran GSA regional meetings or Gender Sexuality Alliance regional meetings. I did all of that. And it was really difficult to move everything in person to online and still maintain that same sense of connection. Because people, in GSAs could just drop in person after school. They didn't have to, really be out there. Now they have to like email somebody and like get the link, which could be really tough. But at the same time, there's also a certain sense of anonymity online where you can, connect with people. So I think that online is a tool that can be really helpful, but we need one big in-person event every year. If you're a state party, if you're a national party, because that's how you get enthusiasm. You get people who are taking photos, seeing all the young people who are attending these events. If we were to have, next year, I know that there's a proposal for an annual national meeting. I understand all the arguments about virtual, in-person, hybrid, decentralized, centralized, anything. Having in-person events is invaluable because it helps people as a whole feel engaged, enthusiastic, and most importantly, it helps people connect with one another more authentically, especially if you have a young person from Kansas who's coming to Chicago and a young person from Massachusetts. They could connect and do some really good work together. I co-founded my nonprofit with a bunch of people I met from a state-sponsored council for LGBTQ youth for safe schools. And if I didn't connect with them, I would have never founded my nonprofit. I would have never made my way here. I probably would have still been registered as a Democrat, which is, something else. So this work not only does that for the connections, it also helps people possibly change party affiliations. I'm wearing my green today for that reason, because I'm a member of the Green Party. And yeah, we're going to enforce a mandatory dress code where everybody has to wear green. We're not doing that. What we're going to do though, is do some in-person organizing, whether it be tabling, whether it be events, whether it be barbecues, whether it be neighborhood things, whether it be rallies. I would love to do some rallies. Give me a microphone and a stage and I will just tell jokes and, probably be stoned half of the time, but that's okay because it would be like a Grateful Dead concert. And exactly. And I think that overall, just having that in-person engagement, but also, collaborating with people, like not only collaborating with LGBT centers, collaborating with musicians and artists that young people enjoy. If we do that as party, we can position ourselves as a party of community, a party of progress, a party of collaboration, and a party of youthful optimism. And let's see here. Josh, you have your hand up again.
Yeah, just thinking about this on the party and thinking about one big event, and I'd like to do some to reach out to our members of our state party and get them to vote on something instead of just doing all our decisions through Roberts. Maybe have the party members vote on it. I forget what type of democratic system that is. I'm reading up more on Roberts now, so that's what I'm mainly thinking about. But this is something I want to do too. I went to our state capital, Juneau, back in January, and I instead of getting a hotel, I stayed at my sister's place, and I come to find out she was a member of the state, the Green Party, like the member I'm an officer of. I didn't know, and she didn't know I was involved. And I looked up our database, and yeah, she is. It's just obviously we're gonna have to raise money to reach out to everyone, but I think it's absolutely necessary. I mean, we need to build a culture of democracy, and I won't get too philosophical. I've been reading some Nietzsche, and he makes this point. Culture requires sacrifice. I'll just end with that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that state parties and having these, the fundraising element is really important. That all comes when you do these in-person activities and you put this work in and people can see, in person. Because in-person photo, let's face it, a virtual screenshot right now, it's good, it's fun. But an in-person photo of people enjoying themselves and having fun, that's really powerful. That's what motivates and enthuses a lot of people. So we have that. Now, let's think about this from the perspective of just finances as a whole. I think that the volunteer model we have is decent. I think that, excuse me, let's think about this from the model of social media. Having to get consensus on nobody is going to agree on every single social media post. So I think that it's actually, I have tried this method before. I found it to be a waste of time because with young people, everybody has an opinion on every single graphic design element, social media post. And it's really important to, have some level of like, if everybody says no to a post, then you don't post it. If everyone says yes to a post, you post it. But you also have to let social media people have a certain level of autonomy and freedom to be able to do the work that they do. And you have to let people, the worst thing you can do is have people approve every single post that goes out because it makes people feel like that they're being monitored. It makes people feel like that we're in some sort of system where they have to get permission for everything, and that can cause a lot of just terrible burnouts and people who are just crashing out, as young people say. And I think that overall what we need to do is just have people who are trusted in this position, and they need to be people who accept feedback. And most importantly, they need to be democratically elected. They need to be elected by the group, or they need to be, and now if they're standing up and saying, okay, I'm doing this, they need to be doing a good job. Because if not, it's your responsibility to say to them, hey, we need to try everything. We need to try in every direction. And yeah, and I think also like, on the note of AI content on that way or something like that, I think AI is a useful tool, but I think that always letting people have priority. I'm sorry, is there a cat back? Yep, there's a cat back here. Her name is Sunshine. She's 2 years old. She comes to me. She's a registered green. Don't ask how I got her registration. I don't want the government to know the answer to that. But as far as everybody knows, there's multiple people living in my house, not just me and my partner. But anyway, Sunshine agrees that having, just allowing people to have autonomy who are working on social media posts, but also not being afraid to give feedback. I think real leadership is the ability to make difficult decisions. And that means giving feedback that people might not like to hear. That means saying things that people might not think are true, but we say them because we want to put the party over one person or one individual. We want to put the will of the party, and most importantly, the will of all the people. I get frustrated in some instances when I see people who stonewall me, who say, well, we need to move things very slowly. We need to have everybody agree on this thing before we put it up, or we need to have this stuff, because at the end of the day, there are people dying in this country. There are people dying in Gaza. And if we're going to be debating semantics or putting posts, or debating one word in a caption, or debating or talking about hypotheticals that aren't actually going to happen, no offense to the people in the chat or anything like that, this is just a call in more than anything, is we have to have a plan, and we have to have strong leadership to have that plan. On that note, I am running for secretary. Please rank me number 1 if you haven't voted yet. That would be really appreciated. Or just share the order with any of your delegate friends who haven't voted yet. But anyway, end of segue. Now, on that point, just communication and leadership, that's really important. And if you're a leader in the state party, just don't be afraid to communicate with people and say, hey, I'm not sure this post really was well received, or I'm not really sure that this post looks good. Can we talk about your strategy and try to get some more people involved here? I'm always available to answer difficult, if anybody needs any advice on how to talk to certain people. I do conflict resolution and I do restorative justice work, so I'm more than happy to help out with that. I can word things very nicely, and that's a good skill of mine. That's why I'm running for secretary, because I like wording things very nicely. And that's that. It is 10:05 right now, so I'll take one more question, and then I'm gonna have everybody do a little closing icebreaker question in the chat. I don't see any questions right now, so okay. Ashley, you're all good.
Hey there, hopefully you can hear me okay. It's less of a question, more of I guess an awareness type of a thing of what we're doing in California, or attempting to do. And sorry I joined late, but in California we're trying to the campus greens going. And the reason why this started, it's sort of like a subgroup for our communications committee, because I'm on the communications committee and the MOC committee. And there were people that were volunteering that were students, and they just wanted to start a chapter in their school, which was great. So I was going around, I was asking everybody, how do we start a chapter in schools? And I couldn't get an answer, like a clear answer. So we just started meeting, having this little group of conversations to try to pull in other people, other greens that could help facilitate, give advice, things like that, because they were brand new greens. They're sick of the system, and they just wanted to do something. So so they basically, they kind of needed mentorship. And it was like, I'm not a student. I actually left college after 2 years. So I was just there to help facilitate as best as I could. And we started in the middle of the year, so that was kind of like, kind of made it tougher. But we found that the challenge for the students to grow the club was the fact that no one really understood what the Green Party was. And they were the only ones on campus. And then on top of it, California is huge. So there's universities and all over the state. So reaching out to these universities, like, we would need somebody to actually help do this. And we really have, even though we're a huge state, we still have a small amount of volunteers that have time, because really volunteering is kind of a privilege right now. Everybody's so deeply absorbed in trying to survive. So it was for the students, not just finding other campuses to explore and grow in, but even on their own campuses, finding a faculty that would be somebody on faculty that would be interested in being an advisor. Finding some of the schools to do tabling required having the club and the advisor and everything all set up. And then on top of it, like drafting things like bylaws or a constitution to start their club, something that they could take to the advisor. So we had to start drafting kind of these bylaws and things like that so that people could have a template to use. So in the meantime, we just encouraged them to join other clubs that were aligned, like environmental or, you know, Free Palestine, things like that. So they were able to tap into other people, but they haven't really been able to find the staff to support and things like that. Again, me being somebody that's not in schools and not able to, you know, go out there and flyer for people, that would be totally inappropriate. It's the challenge has really been finding other organizers to hold the meetings, to track the progress, to help coordinate and host events, you know, to pull together assets for tabling. So even though we're in California trying to do this, if there are other people that want to help support this, we could create sort of this template that other states and you know, like counties and things like that could work with and pivot from. So I just wanted to mention that was that's been our try out there. And yeah, if anybody is actually wanting to help post or do things like that, totally welcome, because it's for the students' awareness and for faculty as well, because faculty is being attacked as well. But just all the people that are being impacted on campuses. So yeah, that's just wanted to share that.
First off, Ashley, I want to appreciate you for all the work you're doing down in California. I live up in Oregon, very excited and enthused to see all of the awesome social media posts going on down there. I'm gonna put this very bluntly in a way that I hope none of you will take great offense to. Young people in colleges right now are not necessarily doing anything with the Green Party, because in part because they don't know what they stand for, but also, you know, people only do these organizations when they're enthused about it. And if they're not doing it here, then it means that there's a lack of enthusiasm in some ways. Now, that's not any fault of any of us. That's just the fault. That's just something that we need to work on. And we work on that in large part by having a good website, by having a social media. I say this like a broken record because I truly think that if we just update our website to look professional, if we update our social media accounts to look professional, then we will have a ton of young people joining in this party and things will get a lot better very quickly. Now, that's a laboring task, of course, and I'm more than happy to volunteer with it. Ashley, I'm more than happy to volunteer with to support you all with this. I can help create systems and get people plugged in. I am very good with young people. I've worked in youth organizing for the past 9 years, and I would be more than happy to support with that. I think that DSA does a good job of just having consistent website, consistent social media. They have tons of people on campuses who are doing this work. Now, is it misguided? Probably. But the Green Party as a whole, there's this question of what we stand for. I believe that we need to stand for progress, and that means we have positive, optimistic policy. If we do that, then we'll get a ton of people. That's what Green Party does in Wales and Scotland and the UK and Europe, and they are very popular over there. They have a decent membership. Scotland, especially. I mean, I see their platform. I was just talking to a trans woman who does something in Scotland with the Green Party. I'm not sure what. I can't remember. But let me actually put my contact information in the chat. You all are more than welcome to contact me with any questions about social media and stuff. I have a list here of contacts from people I'm going to reach out to. If anybody wants to put their contact information for me to reach out to, then please feel free to. I'm more than happy to assist with social media, whether that be volunteer or otherwise. Obviously, I appreciate, I try to protect my capacity by, at least saying if people have the capacity to like give stipends or something, I'll gladly take that. But also, I do most of this work volunteer. I just have to make sure that I keep a roof over my head to do this work in. So there's that. But yes, please do take me up on any, uh, advice for this stuff. So let me just recap here. I want every single one of you to go back to your state parties, go back to your local parties, go back to GPUS and say, okay, what's one thing I can improve upon? What are the things that need to be improved upon? Is my logo out of date? Is my website not working? Does it look like it's from the 1990s? And if you find yourself saying any of that stuff, then contact me. I make websites. I've made the Youth Caucus's website. I'm making the Pacific Green Party's new website. It's on Squarespace. Everything is on Squarespace these days. Obviously, there's a conflict with Nation Builder and Squarespace. We'll figure that out. I can code as well, and I can help out. I really just want to be there for you all, to support you all with having fresh websites, having good social media, having good messaging, having a positive platform. Most importantly, getting young people involved in this party. And if I can do anything to help with that, then please let me know. I'm more than happy to. My number and contact information are in the chat. I want to thank you all for being here. I am going to go get stoned in honor of Jerry Garcia's birthday, hashtag Green Party. So thank you all so much for being here, and I look forward to seeing you at any rallies I hold in the future, any, young campus events and all that fun stuff. Hashtag go green, I think. And what was the other thing I was going to say? Oh yeah, vote me #1 in the secretary election. If you know any delegates, then tell them to vote Esmée #1 or #2 if you prefer another candidate. But #1 is preferred, definitely. Thank you all so much for being here, and I really appreciate it.